I have another story time regarding someone that I knew. I had him added on Snapchat. We would talk like here and there, and I can understand how it feels. The problem was he had no limit. I start to get furious. I'm expressing to him how I feel about the whole Nevaeh situation. He also calls Nevaeh, and they are on the phone for like an hour. Nevaeh and I had a huge falling out, and we didn't talk for like a month. He was like, you know, you're kind of being a B word. He said that to me. He's jealous of both of us. He always compared himself to me and everybody else. We lost it on the phone. We were so upset with what he had said. That was a total waste of time. She told me she gave him the same advice as me, and I was just full-blown upset because I found out he called me jealous. I was upset, y'all. I was mad. What is up, you guys? It's Duran or Dure here, and today is currently Vlogmas Day 7. I cannot believe we've been doing this series for a while. I can't wait to continue all the way to Christmas. But anyways, aside from it being Day 7 of Vlogmas, I have a story time for you guys. I don't remember the last time I did story time. I believe the last official story time that I did was, I think, when I talked about the time where I worked at Sonic and my experience. But if it's not, I'll put the latest story time I did. But anyways, I have another story time regarding someone that I knew. Now, this friend and I have a very complicated relationship. I stopped talking to this guy. I stopped being friends with him. I don't talk to him currently. We stopped being friends recently, actually. So buckle up, because this is a very long and complicated story. So give this video a thumbs up if you guys are enjoying Vlogmas and if you guys are ready to hear this story. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so my friend and I, we're gonna give him a name. We are gonna call him Matt. Alright, so Matt and I met 2 years ago on January 2023. We have a 3-year age gap, so around the time that I met him, I was 15, he was 18, and I was on Omegle, you know, just trolling. I wasn't really doing my YouTube channel around the time, so I was posting like, I think around once a month. I think that's when I did this. But I remember that I was trolling on Omegle, and I think I had done it for a while. I think it was like an hour. So as I'm trolling people on Omegle, I get connected with him. And so after he sees that I'm trolling, and then I kind of feel bad, I'm like, you know what, maybe I should talk to this guy. And so then we just started talking. We talked about like just stuff in general, like life, school. You know, he was a senior in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. And it wasn't honestly bad. And then he got my Snapchat, then I got his Snapchat, and from that moment on, we weren't really friends yet, but we kind of formed a relationship. So in 2023, I went on a cruise. I didn't really speak to them that much in January. I had him added on Snapchat. We would talk like here and there. February, we called for the first time on my birthday, and that call was great. You know, he was just giving me like workout tips and just working out on the phone, and then just talking about how school was. And then after a while, we started to build our relationship more and more. We called a lot in March. March was like the time of the year, because my friend, he's Muslim, okay? I'm saying my friend so y'all can have a picture of him being my friend. Like, I'm telling the story as if it's actually like happening in the moment. So I'm gonna keep saying my friend. My friend Matt, he's Muslim. And around this time in March, he celebrates Ramadan, which is meaning you fast from sunrise to sunset. So in order for him to not think about, you know, drinking or eating food, we would call for like hours. Guys, we one time called for like 5 hours. Like, we would just literally be on the phone for 5 hours because he didn't want to eat and he didn't want to break his fast. Anyways, so we started having a better relationship towards spring and summer. Like I said, we called a lot during Ramadan. We called a lot in April. And May, I got my job at McDonald's. Y'all know that I had gotten my job at McDonald's and I was 15 when I met him, but I turned 16 in February and then I had my job at McDonald's. If you guys watch my McDonald's video, y'all would know that I turned 16. So the reason why I'm bringing up how much we called, well, obviously because that's how we built our relationship, because we were online. He lived in a completely different state than I did, and it was a far drive. Also, another reason why, other than the fact that he was an online friend, is that the calls play a significant role as to why I stopped being friends with him. Now, you probably are thinking, well,
duh, that's how y'all had a relationship, you called.
But there are certain calls that we had that kind of started to put a damper into our friendship. Like I said, we were close in March. We started talking in April. I got my job at McDonald's in May, and I couldn't call every day of the week. He couldn't call every day of the week because he also had a job, and he also kind of wanted to keep me unknown, and I also kept him hidden for a couple of years. We didn't want our families like knowing about each other until I was old enough to go see him on my own, which would be this year. I kept him a secret, and he kept me a secret from his family for a while, and to this day I don't even think they know who I am, but my family knows who he is. Anyways, we started to, compromise a schedule that would work. This is how it would be. Since I was working at McDonald's, we wouldn't call Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday nights is when we would call. Friday nights was when we would call the most. Friday and Saturday nights. Those were the days where we called. And we literally would call for probably about an hour or two because I didn't get off of work till like 11 o'clock at night. That was like after months of working at McDonald's, by the way. We didn't really establish a schedule in the beginning of me working at McDonald's, but as time progressed, we started to. Like during the summer, we would call more frequent because we had more time. But during the school year, aka my junior year, we started to have to establish a schedule because, he's in college, I'm a junior in high school, and he's probably not going to have time to call me all the time, and he also had a job as well. So, knowing all that, and knowing that we had to call like Friday, Saturday nights, what was the problem? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. When I was 16 and when I was a junior in high school, y'all know that I suffered from a very bad depression. You guys know, I've told you guys before that I've suffered from depression my junior year, and it was at its worst my junior year. So he also was very I don't know if he didn't really believe in depression at the time, but he also was pretty negative. We started to just trauma dump each other. We started to just talk about what's wrong with the world and just vent and complain to each other. And it just started to become a very bad habit because in the beginning, we didn't just vent and complain to each other. We literally would talk about, we would obviously talk about things that bothered us. We would obviously talk about world struggles. But at the end of the day, we always learned something from it. Towards the end of the year is when we just started to vent and complain to each other. And now that I look back at it, I noticed a shift in my mood every time I talked to him towards the end of the year. So y'all know we met in the beginning of the year. We started becoming friends in spring. We talked a lot during Ramadan in March and April. We talked a lot in the summertime. We had to establish a schedule when we both started school, and we had a shift of behavior after knowing each other for a while and talking on the phone, and it became more negative. So that's all y'all know for right now. At the end of the year, I call him on New Year's Day of 2024. We talk about our goals, we talk about our ambitions. I was trying to be very optimistic, and I'm like, you know what, bro, 2024 is going to be our year. We're going to have a much better year than we did in 2023. I just want to give him a positive attitude because it just wasn't really positive, you guys. I'm telling you, I wish I was exaggerating on how negative this guy was. And it's unfortunate that he was like this because, I was there for him when he didn't have anybody to talk to. And this is no hate to him, by the way. I'm just telling y'all the story. I'm just telling y'all the real life events, and I'm just telling y'all what was going on around the time. Anyways, I'm trying to give him optimism because 2023, I'm trying to leave that in 2023. I don't want any same habits that happened in 2023 regarding negativity to come with us in 2024. It's a new year. We get another opportunity to start our lives over, get another opportunity to succeed in life. I'm just trying to think positively so I don't become depressed. And so it didn't really work, to be honest with you, because it kind of was the same. And one thing that happened that caused him to spiral into negativity was he had gotten into a car accident in February. I don't remember if we called that day, but I just remember him telling me that he had the very bad case of the stomach flu, which was very big around the time because I had gotten it like a few weeks. No, I don't even know if it was a few weeks. I believe it was a month before because it was like middle of January and this accident happened in like mid-February. So I believe it was a month before in January. And so he told me that he went to his car, he drove, and it was nighttime and he slid on black ice and he had gotten into a collision. He rear-ended a car in front of him. And so after that, he just started to, just have no positive outlook on the world ever. Like, y'all, it was like a very, 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 very bad shift of mood. Like, in the beginning, I'm trying to give him words of encouragement. I'm trying to be there for him. I'm trying to give him advice because I did feel bad. I didn't want to leave him alone because I felt like if I left him alone, he wouldn't have anybody to talk to. And I can understand how it feels to not have anybody to talk to when you're struggling. Yes, I have Nevaeh and I am appreciative of Nevaeh, but what I mean by alone, I mean not having another guy friend to relate to, because Nevaeh and I, we can talk about problems, we can discuss what we feel, but at the end of the day, a guy and guy relationship is going to be different from a guy on girl relationship. You're going to be able to relate to the guy more because you're a guy. And it's no hate to Nevaeh. Nevaeh, if you're watching this, because she told me to do this video, she actually told me to film this video, she actually told me to post this video. I know you're watching this. Thank you for being there for me. Anyways, but I just felt like it was my obligation to help him and be there for him because I know what it's like to not have another guy friend, and I know what it's like to feel like you can't talk to anybody because they won't take it seriously. They'll view you as weak. That is a certain stigma that men have, is that if they express themselves and show a little bit of vulnerability, it's seen as weak and shameful. And I didn't want him to feel like that. I didn't want Matt to feel like that in front of me. So I obviously let him confide in me, and I obviously let him talk to me about what he felt like. But guys, the problem was never him confiding in me. It was the fact that it was always negative, and it just never seemed like he was gonna have anything positive to say, and it kind of felt like he was in this depressive state. So after the accident happened in February, he obviously was scared to drive on the road again, and obviously was traumatized by that situation, which I fully understand what it's like to get into an accident because some person hit my bumper while I was driving, and I was like really surprised, and they dipped. They tried to commit a hit and run, but I still got their license plate. But this was before that ever happened. This was a year ago. So I understood that he didn't want to drive anymore. But that also caused him not to want to do anything. Like, you guys, he would wander around with no purpose at all. He would have all the time in the world to call me, because I think around this time he had quit his job, and he literally was just, I don't know, y'all, it was just weird because I had never had a friend who was like this before. Even Nicole had some bit of positivity. It wasn't just always negative, but Nicole definitely was a different story. And if you guys haven't watched that video of me talking about Nicole, you should definitely go watch it because I go into full detail about how that friendship was. But anyways, I also am going to tell you guys how he was with Nevaeh, because I eventually did introduce Nevaeh to Matt, and Matt and Nevaeh had started to form a bond. These two were my best friends. These are the only two people that I would talk to every day other than my mom and dad. I had these two. These two are my best friends. Nevaeh, is my female best friend who I've known for years, and Matt is my best friend who I've only known for a year around the time. So they've heard about each other through me. So I would talk about Nevaeh to Matt, not in a bad way, and I would talk about Matt to Nevaeh. So they didn't know each other until one night. It was March. It was March of 2024. This was about, I believe, this was like a week or two before I started working at Sonic. And I had finally gave Matt Nevaeh's number, and they started to text. And Nevaeh and I were on the phone, and they were texting each other on the phone. Nevaeh typically struggles with multitasking stuff. Like, she can't really multitask. So if Nevaeh is texting somebody, she goes quiet and she's locked into that text message that she's about to send. So when I realized that Nevaeh was not really focused on me and texting Matt, I was just like, oh, And then eventually I think we hung up, and then Matt and Nevaeh started talking, and they had their own little friendship. I think this was the first week I worked at Sonic. So the first week I worked at Sonic, we're gonna say it was the first week. The first week I worked at Sonic, I put Matt, Nevaeh, and I, the three of us, in a big friend group chat on phone. And so we would call each other. Like, Nevaeh had an Android, Matt and I both had iPhones. So what I would literally have to do is I would have to call Matt or Nevaeh, and then I would have to call the other person, and then I would have to merge the calls. And that's what we did for the longest time. And so when Matt and Nevaeh formed a friendship, it kind of put a damper on Nevaeh and I's friendship around the time. So I am known to be quiet and listen listen when it comes to my friends becoming friends with each other, because I've had past experiences where Nevaeh and I would be in a group chat with a friend of mine and it just wouldn't go well. So I would obviously just listen to the conversation. I wouldn't be engaged because I didn't want them to only talk only because of me talking. You know what I'm saying? So I would listen to them talk. I would listen to their conversations, and I would just peep if they're getting along. I would peep if they're not getting along, and I just wanted to see if the relationship would work, because I was sick and tired of, trying to form a friendship and it not going well with all my friends, because I always was big on inclusion because I was always excluded. So I wanted them to be very good friends. And we could all talk, because sometimes I would want to call Nevaeh and then Matt would want to call me. Or sometimes Nevaeh would want to call me and Matt's calling me. Or Matt would want to call me and Nevaeh's on the phone with me. So I was just like, you know what? I just want to talk to both of them. I want us all to talk together. When we all started talking, it just kind of felt like I was being left out. And I did express to both of them how I felt and how it did feel a little, like I was being excluded. It kind of felt like the duo was becoming stronger with them and I was kind of being left out. But that was just my interpretation of it. Maybe they didn't see it that way, so I'm not even going to be like, oh, they fully left me out. But that's just how I felt around the time. And after a while, Nevaeh and I did have a falling out. We didn't talk for, I don't really know when, but around May, Nevaeh and I had a huge falling out, and Matt and I had called. I remember this like it was yesterday. I specifically told Matt, I said, Matt, I don't want you to be in the middle of this because this is Nevaeh and I's falling out. I didn't want him to be in the middle. And he expressed to me that he's never been friends with females before. So I didn't want his only female friendship to be ruined by me. Well, maybe not only. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But he rarely had female friends. And I didn't want my falling out with Nevaeh to ruin his friendship with her. So I was just like, hey, you don't have to be in the middle of this. I'm not going to make you pick and choose between Nevaeh and I. I don't do ultimatums. And I'm expressing to him this. And he tells me on the phone that I don't really like being friends with females. I'm only going to just use her for such and such and such. Use her for therapy pretty much, because like I say, y'all, he was very negative. He didn't have anybody else to talk to, and Nevaeh and I were the only two people he would call. He might talk to his friends here and there, but for the most part, Nevaeh and I were the only people listening to him. So he pretty much just said he was going to use her for therapy. I remember that situation. Remember that, guys, because that's also a key reason to why we had a falling out. I remember that, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then Nevaeh and I didn't talk for a little bit. Then after a while, we expressed each other the problems, and we worked it out. We were fine. And then it just became really bad, you guys. Sometimes we just would be like, we can't call as a trio, because Matt was always in the middle. We didn't make him in the middle, but he was in the middle. He kind of put himself in the middle. He would always advise both of us to not speak to each other. We shouldn't say this, we shouldn't say that. Like, that's how in the middle he was. And it kind of felt like he was instigating. But anyways, so I remember we had this one bad falling out. Nevaeh and I, we didn't talk for a month. This was the beginning of my senior year. Last year around September, I believe. September of 2024. Nevaeh and I had a huge falling out, and we didn't talk for like a month. And so when I'm talking to Matt and I'm expressing to him how I feel about the whole Nevaeh situation, he's just telling me not to talk to her anymore, saying that maybe it's best if you're not friends anymore, taking my side. And then, Matt also calls Nevaeh, and they are on the phone for like an hour, and he leaves me on hold for a while, and I eventually got off the phone because I'm not gonna be on hold for the whole freaking night. and they had talked about some stuff. And then I remember I said that honestly shouldn't listen to her because I'm not gonna lie, I was a little like, I feel like she's gonna lie. I feel like she's gonna tell you a narrative that's not true. And I told him that. But I never said that he can't talk to her because at the end of the day, I don't really care. I don't care who you talk to. You are your own self. I can't control who you're friends with. And so after that, I started to have problems with him. Matt and I started to have more arguments. Basically, he was dating this girl. We're gonna call her Jasmine. We're gonna call her Jasmine because that's the only thing I can think of. Jasmine and him started dating in August. So this was a month before Nevaeh and I had that falling out. He also wasn't very big on dating and relationships because, you know, he's Muslim. He gets married with girls. They don't have a boyfriend and girlfriend stage. They get married, period. There's nothing to it. They get married, they're wife and husband. And also, Muslims are also polygamous, so he could technically be with more than one girl, but he didn't want a relationship. He wanted to objectify women, which I didn't agree with, which I kind of saw as a red flag, but I should. Anyways, he wanted to objectify women. He would always tell me all the details about what he wants to do to a woman, and they were not really good details, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they're not really details you would want to tell somebody, to the average person, like someone you don't know. But he would tell me stuff that he wanted to do with women. He just wanted to use women to, you know, feel on their bodies, you know, I don't know, kind of like having them as a servant or whatever. They cook, they clean, they go to work, and he does nothing but sit at home all day. He kind of wanted a server for a woman. And that's why it was kind of surprising to me that he was in a relationship with Jasmine, because after all of that he said, him and Jasmine would have problems, and he would tell me the problems. And I just remember it was in October, and I had a problem with what he had said because he expressed to me that he was having problems with Jasmine and he didn't know what to do. And he said that he feels some type of way about being with her. So I remember I told him that if it's not a good relationship, then you need to break up with him. And he always had a problem with coming to me about the same situation and expecting me to give him the same advice, because I remember we would talk about the same thing over and over and over again, and I would end up having to repeat myself, and I hate repeating myself. So I did get frustrated with this, and then I also was getting like a fed up with all of the venting and complaining, because guys, you see how I am. I try to be very optimistic, and the problem with him is that he was very pessimistic and he couldn't see anything in a positive situation. So our personalities weren't collaborative. They were very much colliding. So I was just getting tired of all the venting and the complaining. And one day I was in Iowa and I was going to see my cousin play football at his college, Iowa State University. And he just comes texting me on Snapchat in caps, saying cuss words, talking about a situation that happened. And I'm fed up. And I said that I'm trying to enjoy my vacation, and here you are coming to me with these problems. And then I told him to never let that happen again. And he said, okay. Because I also remember in August, we had a brief conversation. He went to Florida for about 3 weeks. And he told me that he had a very, very deep conversation with his cousin, who's very hard on him. He's kind of like another big brother to him, because he has a big brother already. He's a family of 5. I'm a family of 5. I forgot to tell y'all that. But he told me that his cousin made him open his eyes about something, and that he realized that venting too much is a problem. So, knowing that, and then he proceeds to do it anyways. And I was actually the one who was like, you know what, venting is okay, but there's a limit. The problem was he had no limit. He was like, here's a pedestal of, you know, venting and not venting. This is what it felt like. Like, this is what it was like. Not here, because he claims it was, you know, a balance. No, it was more like this. This is what it was like. And I was trying to get him to understand that there's no balance with what you're doing. You're mostly venting and complaining. He proceeded to feel some type of way about it. And I remember we were talking about, I don't remember what it was, but he was talking about death. And he was talking about how he probably will not make it to 21. And me hearing this, I'm like, okay, I don't really want to talk about this because I'm sensitive to death and I don't like talking about it. And he was also telling me his friend's personal business, which I'm like, okay, I don't really know if he wants me to know this. So I'm telling him all this, and I'm also telling him about his girlfriend Jasmine. And I start to get furious, y'all. I was getting mad. I was starting to like get aggressive, and then we ended up hanging up and not talking for the rest of the day because I was mad. I was upset with him because here you are telling me that venting is, you know, not okay, but you're venting anyways. Here you're telling me that you don't think you'll make it to like 21, you'll be dead. Like, I don't want to hear that. And here you are making me repeat myself about Jasmine when I already told you, if it keeps going like this, you need to break up with her. So all those three factors is to what kind of started to make us have a falling out. And he and I, we kind of stopped talking as much. We had a period where we didn't even talk for like a few weeks. And the problem that he had with me is that he felt like, he said this, he was like, you know, you're kind of being a B word. He said that to me. And that kind of blew me up. That blew me out of like surprising. And I'm like, how am I being a B word? I don't remember our exact conversation, but I do remember a phone call and he did say that I was being a B word. And after that, we didn't talk for a few weeks. And mind y'all, Nevaeh and I weren't talking around that time either. So I had really nobody to talk to about this. I didn't express it to my parents. I didn't tell anybody at school. I kind of was dealing with this all alone. And so after a while, I think we didn't talk for like 3 weeks. I got the courage to text him and I was like, hey, how you doing? What you been doing? This, that, and the third. And he tells me how he's doing, and then I apologize for the way I was acting, and he apologized. And something in my mind was like, I think him and Nevaeh are friends still, and he's not telling me, and he's playing it off as he's not friends with her, because I remember he would act like he's not friends with her. He would be like, I'm not talking to her. Not like that, but he would make it seem like he's not friends with her, and he would make it seem like he's not talking to her, because I'm pretty sure, I swear, if I remember asking him, do you want to be friends with her? And I swear he said no. And I swear he said he wanted to use her for therapy. I'm not lying on that. So I had this feeling that him and Nevaeh were secretly talking and he was discussing me behind my back. And when he heard me saying that, he was kind of like brushing it off. He was like, no, that's not happening. And then Nevaeh and I, we kindled our friendship and we talk about this. And Nevaeh tells me that he was talking about stuff that was going on with me behind my back. So he had lied to me and made it seem like that he was not talking to her. I really felt some type of way about that because, guys, I value honesty when it comes to relationships. If you can't be honest with me, then I don't need to be friends with you, because why would you lie about that to me? Why would you lie and make it seem like that you're not friends with her when I already specifically said in May when we had a falling out you could be friends with her? Why would you not tell me this? So I felt some type of way and I was really upset because I'm like, sorry. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So, like I said, I felt some type of way because I didn't think he should lie to me. I felt like if you're my friend, you should be upfront and honest with me. And around this time, I definitely didn't want Nevaeh to know what I was going through or stuff that was going on in my life because we weren't friends around the time. I didn't even know if we were going to ever be friends again. And so Nevaeh is telling me all this stuff. She's telling me how she would listen to him vent and complain. She would tell me that he would talk about girls in like a very inappropriate way, which I'm not surprised about because he would. And he also would talk about how he would masturbate a lot. He also said stuff like that too. And she told me that when he would start talking about Jasmine, because he would be a little with her. I'm sorry. With her. I'm sorry, that's the only word I can describe it. With her, she was like,
yeah, I want to be friends with Duran again.
And Matt was freaking out, okay? Matt was freaking out to Nevaeh, being like,
Duran's gonna be mad at me, you know? I don't want to be mad at me.
Like, just scared that I'm not gonna be friends with him anymore. And when I had already said that he did not need to lie to me or play it off as that you're not friends with her, I was surprised and I was honestly shocked because he played it off as if he was not friends with her. He said he didn't want to be friends with her, and then he lies and talks about me behind my back. He called me jealous, by the way, of him and Jasmine's relationship. Mind you, Jasmine didn't even know Matt's name, and they were together since August. They broke up in November. 3 months, and she didn't even know the brother's name. You think I would be jealous of that? And she was also well, this is how you described her, a WHORE. So you really think I would be jealous of the fact that you dated an WHORE and who had a pregnancy scandal? Yeah, by the way, she had a pregnancy scandal which caused them to break up. And she had mental health issues. If anything, I'm not jealous of that. I feel sorry for her. I have sympathy for her. But the way you and her were acting, no, I don't feel bad. Because at the end of the day, their relationship was not real. Man, they were just freaky to each other. They didn't necessarily have intercourse, but they were like touching on each other and stuff like that. Being kinky, like I said. So, the fact that he called me jealous rubbed me the wrong way because I didn't want to hear him vent and complain about his girl all the time. Nobody wants to hear you vent and complain all the time. It gets frustrating, gets annoying, and it gets to a point where I start to be that way and be very pessimistic. And I didn't want that to happen because I have so much to be grateful for. I live in a house. I'm able to have food every day. I have 2 loving parents. I have a car. I'm driving. I have things that people don't have. I have a phone. I have an iPhone 14. Not a lot of kids have iPhone 14s, let alone a phone, period. I was just sick and tired of all the negativity. And so what did he do instead of realizing that he was wrong? He goes to Nevaeh. He goes to Nevaeh and does exactly what he did to me to Nevaeh. And I remember confronting him about it, and I was like, wow, you guys were a secret duo. And he was like, well, we weren't really a secret duo. I was just talking to her to, because I need a girl's perspective on Jasmine and what I should do about Jasmine. Mind you, she told me she gave him the same advice as me. That was a total waste of time. Anyways, so I was really upset with him, and this was like towards Thanksgiving break. So I didn't talk to him for a little bit, and I remember I called him in a group chat on Snapchat with Nevaeh, him, and I. And I was just full-blown upset because I found out he called me jealous. I was upset, y'all. I was mad. I was raising my voice. I was just being so upset. I was frustrated because how you gonna call me jealous and I was there for you, homeboy? How you gonna call me jealous? Would a jealous person listen to you talk about your girl and keep having the repetitive problem with her? Like, bro, how you gonna talk about me like that? How you gonna talk about me like that and call me jealous? All because I didn't want to listen to you complain about your girl about the same dang issue over and over again when I had already given you a solution to that problem. At that point, you're making yourself suffer. So yes, I did not want to hear you, and you go running to Nevaeh because she wants to listen to you. I didn't want to listen to you. And I expressed to him, I was honest with him. I told him how I felt about all of this. I was mad, I was upset, and I told Nevaeh that what he said in May. I told him what he said in May, and then he calls me a liar and says that he never said that. And he also tells Nevaeh that I'm sorry, I forgot a detail. He also said that I was acting, kind of weird and I'm scary or whatever. Basically trying to insinuate that I was kind of being evil. I don't know if that was the way, but that's the way I interpreted it. Saying that I was changing, becoming more rude and stuff like that. Trying to make it seem like I'm crazy. And he told both of us that that was not true. He said that that was not true. This were her exact words, you guys. This was his exact words. I don't remember that. I wouldn't say stuff like that. So you wouldn't say stuff like that, but you also don't remember. So how do you know you didn't say that? If you quote unquote wouldn't say that, why would we make up a lie? You're both of our friend. Why would we lie about you? If we're telling you that you said something, and you know us, we don't lie about stuff like this, and then you turn it around and play the middleman, act like you're so innocent and you didn't say anything about us, you're the problem. And so both of Nevaeh and I, we were both frustrated about the situation because we felt like we were played because we were there for him. We listened to him vent and complain all the time, and then he turns around and calls both of us liars to our faces. He didn't say the word liar, but he said that he never said all the stuff that he said. When he did, he talked about me and he used Nevaeh. And even if he didn't say those things, he still acted onto it. He went to her and only vented to her. Like, what? Anyways, so then after that, Nevaeh and I, we were like, we're gonna cut him off. We didn't want to talk to him. We thought he was being weird. We thought he was rude. He was just getting on my last nerve. And I'm just starting to remember a lot of stuff that was said, a lot of stuff that he's talked about, the way he objectifies women, all like the masturbation stuff, now realizing that it was weird of him to do that. And like I said, this was towards the end of November, which was Thanksgiving, and I did text him happy birthday for his birthday just to be nice. And then also, when we were done with the situation, he came back to us and he started talking about it again to get his point across that he didn't say what he said and that pretty much we're liars. Because he got so defensive when we called him out on what he said to both of us about each other. He got real defensive. He was quick to defend himself, but he wasn't listening to what we were saying. Because you sat up here and told us that you didn't want to be friends with Nevaeh, you were just going to use her for help. And you also told Nevaeh that I'm more aggressive, I'm this, I'm that. Honestly, I'm scared or something like I'm jealous. Like, who does that? And this is supposed to be our friend, y'all. Anyways, so I really was starting to question if I wanted to be friends with him because I was just getting sick and tired of all the crap that was going on. I was tired of all the negativity. I was tired of all of the complaining. I was tired of the scandals because this was ridiculous. My homeboy, who I thought I could trust, was calling me jealous behind my back, lying to Nevaeh, lying to me. And now I'm like confused. I'm like, what do I do in this situation? What do I do? And so I'm telling Nevaeh, I'm just explaining to her how I feel, you know, kind of venting at her because she understands that I'm frustrated by how Matt was treating me, and I was mad that he was treating Nevaeh a certain type of way, using her. And I probably should have said something about him using her in the beginning. Probably should have. That's a mistake on my end, but I didn't. Anyways, so this was in December, by the way. I was trying to figure out what to do because I did not want to, you know, lose him as a friend because, like I said, he was the only friend that I had. He was my best friend, and I was like the only guy he would confide in. I was the only guy he would, you know, talk about goals and ambitions with, and I was the only guy who was willing to listen to him vent and complain. I just felt like it was my duty as a good friend to keep being friends with him, but I just didn't know. And then another thing happened in December, and he tells Nevaeh and I that he's jealous of both of us, but he's not that jealous of me, but he's jealous of Nevaeh. And this is something that I did not tell y'all in the beginning, but Matt wanted to be a partier. He wanted to be cool. Mind you, he's 20 in college, seeking validation to be cool. So Nevaeh and I were 17 at the time. I'm only 17, and he turned 20 in November. His birthday was November. I think it's the 29th, November 28th or 29th. I don't remember, but he turned 20, and even before that, at 19, he was like, I want to be cool. I want to go to parties. I want to do all this because he didn't do it in high school. And so Nevaeh and I were kind of like, well, it's kind of too late. And then he would always compare Nevaeh to him. He would always do that. He would be like, you did this in high school. You did that in high school. Because he wanted to do the stuff that Nevaeh did. I'm not going to tell y'all what Nevaeh did because that's not my business to tell. That's her personal things that she did. I'm not going to do that out of respect of Nevaeh. But he always compared himself to me and everybody else. And that was also another problem that he had. So when he had said that he was jealous of me, he was only jealous of my mentality, according to him. But he was jealous of Nevaeh for her looks and the stuff that he did. No, she did, I'm sorry. The stuff that she did in high school. You guys, when I tell y'all, we lost it. We lost it on the phone. We were so upset with what he had said. We were frustrated. I was mad. She was mad. She was weirded out. I was weirded out because we're thinking to ourselves, why is a 20-year-old jealous of a 17-year-old girl? Or why is a man jealous of a girl, period? We just kind of thought that was weird. And we were like, we're done with him. We don't want to talk to him at all. We don't want to talk to him. And I think at that point, I just started to kind of lose that drive to keep being friends with Matt because y'all don't know this, but in January, I had, you know, the goals video. There was another video that I had planned filming. Nevaeh and I, we talked about it because I told her around the time I wanted to start my YouTube channel and I wanted to do YouTube again. And I told Nevaeh that I wanted to do a Christmas haul video, and I didn't know if I wanted to do a Christmas haul video or I wanted to do a story time about him. And so Nevaeh suggested to me that I do a story time about him, and I had filmed this hour-long story time video of him, probably a little under an hour, but I'm gonna say an hour to exaggerate. I filmed this very long video about him, added all effects. I was almost done with the video. It was like 40 minutes long, but Matt and I had rekindled, and I even told him the video. I even showed him a clip for the video. And again, and again, and again. And then I'm just like, okay, you said you weren't going to vent to me anymore. You said you were going to create solutions. So why are you coming to me about the same issue that I already gave you an answer for? And at that point, I was getting frustrated because I was tired of him coming to me about the same exact thing when I specifically gave him this solution. At some point, I did react some type of way, and I did snap because I was sick and tired of it. I did not like the fact that he was doing that. And I remember prior to that, he was venting me about something very personal that I'm not going to talk about. And I snapped. I got upset. I got upset because here he's telling me venting is not okay, but then he's doing it. Mind you, I was on vacation. I was out of town. I was trying to enjoy my weekend. I was going to a college football game. I was like, I don't want to deal with this right now. And then he's coming to me, typing in caps and stuff like that. I was just like, I don't want to deal with this right now. So I did get upset. I was angry. And I remember I said, don't waste my time, because I don't like when people waste my time. I scrapped the video because I felt like it was weird for me to tell the story about someone I'm not really cool with, who I just became friends with again. So y'all don't know that there's a little hidden fact that I was gonna actually post my first official video talking about him, Matt. I was gonna talk about Matt and tell you guys all the details about how Matt was not really a good friend. I was literally gonna do that, but I switched the video to a goals video because, you know, it was the beginning of my channel, and I also didn't want to start off with a messy story time because I scrapped the Christmas haul video because I went to Chicago and I didn't really have time to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do a goals video, we're fine. And then I was still like iffy about the negativity talk because he would always, no, this is what he used to do. He would always be like, oh, it's because of Jasmine. Or I was literally in a relationship with Jasmine for this long. I was literally, mind you, that relationship was not real. That was a whack relationship. I'm just saying it right now. It was a whack and phony relationship. Period. Whack and phony. It was not real. They only used each other for fondling. But he always would say that. That also started to irk me too, because why do you keep bringing Jasmine up? You obviously feel some type of way about her and you want to be with her. And he just didn't want to admit it. And that's also what was a problem. He did not want to admit things. He's stubborn. Okay, he's very stubborn. So, I don't know. It was kind of iffy with us for, you know, the beginning of 2025. I don't remember much because there really wasn't anything that really drove me to not be friends with him in the beginning of 2025. Because I don't know. I was just like, you know, kind of over it. I was kind of, I don't know, trying to deal with it. And then I remember that I had a falling out with him in May. And this was a month before I graduated. And this is when I started door dashing. This is when I'm 5 months into being a YouTuber. Him and I, we just started talking less and less and less. And I would express to Nevaeh that I just still feel like he's being negative, and I feel like I'm still being a therapist friend, because that's how I felt for the longest. And we also talked about it too, because I remember another time we talked about how, you know, venting and complaining is bad, like I told you guys, and that he was so depressed because of me listening to him do that and me not putting a stop to it. That's what we said. But anyways, so I told Nevaeh how I felt, and I just started to kind of distance myself from talking to him on the phone. I kind of stopped liking our phone calls, and I remember I asked Matt this one thing. I was like, what's been going on with you? Because we had not spoken to each other in a very long time. It was probably like a month, because I did get sick and tired of all the complaining, and I did like went off on him about it the month before we stopped talking. And I'm like, okay, what happened? He couldn't tell me anything good that happened. He told me that he was gonna quit his job because of a certain thing that happened. He failed his motorcycle permit. And I'm like, you mean to tell me from the month that we haven't talked to each other, nothing has changed? You're still negative? Pretty much. And I'm like, what's one positive thing you can name? He had to literally think about it. He had to literally stop and think, And that's when I was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't really want to talk to him anymore. I'm sick and tired of all this. And so from that moment on, our friendship was pretty much over. I didn't want to be friends with him anymore from that point. And we would talk here and there. But I knew I was done. I was done with him, but I just didn't block him. And so for like the summer, we didn't talk as much. He congratulated me on graduating, which was nice. He would text me here and there, and he was not really my friend anymore. I didn't consider him a friend after like May or June. And I officially blocked him like I believe in October. I blocked him in October, and I told him that I wish him nothing but the best and stuff like that, and I was just done because I'm not bad. I am not a bad person. I don't wish anything on anybody. I use it as a learning experience, and what I had learned is that you can't fix somebody, and that was his problem. When he's venting and complaining, he's expecting me to fix it and automatically spew out advice. But brother, I have my own problems that I deal with. My own problems. And if I could fix your problems, I'd be able to fix mine too. So I just got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to be friends with him. I just want to surround myself with people who want to find the good in things. I'm not saying that you can't express yourself. You can express yourself. You can't be negative, because I have moments where I'm not happy. But if you're going to sit here and nitpick all the things that's wrong with the world, or nitpick what's wrong with your life, you're not going to get anywhere. And have you ever heard the term, they're holding you back? Well, I feel like Matt was holding me back. And when I left him as a friend, my life was much more peaceful, in my opinion. When I didn't talk to him, my life was peaceful. I didn't have to worry about anything. So we would talk here and there, and towards the beginning of my freshman year in college, we were not talking as much. And so in the end, I blocked him. I probably still have him blocked by now. And yeah. So what do I want y'all to learn out of this story? I want y'all to learn that people are not robots. You cannot rely on people to fix your own problems. You cannot rely on your friend to be able to fix every little problem with your life. And you need to understand that there should be a boundary when it comes to trauma dumping, negativity, all that. And if there's no boundary, then there's going to be a rocky relationship. So at the end of the day, I also want you to know that don't be friends with somebody because you're sympathetic of them. Be friends with them because you want to have a good relationship with them. Don't do it out of pity. Don't do it because you feel bad for them. Because I did it out of pity, and look where that got me. Arguments, lying, middleman, instigation. Like, don't do that. But anyways, that's my rocky story. I hope you guys were able to make it all the way to the end of this video. It was a very long video. I apologize for all you short attention spanners. I will see you guys tomorrow for Vlogmas Day 8. Bye guys.